Hello, welcome to the A to Z YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Toby Allen and I'm the A in A to Z, which puts me in charge of songwriting, engineering and producing when it comes to making a record with us. Today we're going to be looking at the brand new Toneforge plugin from Joey Sturgis Tones. This one is called Toneforge Disruptor and is made with Dino from Fear Factory. Full disclosure, although this isn't a sponsored video as such because I wasn't paid to make this video, I was given this plugin by Joey Sturgis Tones to try out and show to you guys. I was also asked to make some presets for the release as well, and I hope you enjoy those. You will have heard some of those in fact in the little demo song that we've just played through. So this is a really interesting amp sim because there's some features in here which I've never seen on a different amp sim, never seen before, and we're going to talk about some of those. So first off, just want to also mention as well that as usual, I'm using the Vikings IR from Bogren Digital, just so you can hear consistency across the entire channel if you're wanting to compare amp sims that I have reviewed. If you've used Toneforge before, you'll recognize the buttons at the bottom here which show you the signal path that your guitar is taking. You've got the pedals that go before the amp, you have the amp itself, you have the cab. On this one you can actually load up dual cabs, and there are 3 cabs included which were made by Make Believe Studios. That's our friends Ryan Harvey and Rick Carson. There's an American 4x12, there's an American 2x12, and there's a British 4x12. There's 4 different microphones on each of those. You can also, so you've got 421, 57, a ribbon and a condenser. You've also got the ability to move those around to different positions on the speaker, and you can also control the distance as well. I'm going to switch back to the IR which we always use. Then you've got your pedals which can go after the amp. You've got an EQ section, both a digital EQ and an analog EQ. The digital EQ has up to 24 bands, and you can actually make those dynamic. You can change them to high pass, shelves, low pass, etc, etc. You've also got a resonance killing feature, which is a dynamic EQ on specific parts which may resonate in an unpleasant way. It's not a million miles away from something like Soothe, but obviously not the same, but not a million miles away from. You've also got a dynamic system here, so you've got a low end compress which allows you to do the sort of Andy Sneap trick of controlling palm mutes, and then you've got a limiter here as well. You can also do delta on the resonance killing feature, which is really cool. In addition to that, you've also got a DI matching function which allows you to affect the sound going into the amp sim. So it'll actually match DI sounds between different guitars. You could, for example, use these profiles here, which come included with the amp sim. So you've got a Dino 7-string and Dino 8-string, and then you play some sound on your guitar, it matches and works out what the differences are, and then applies that as a spectral match to your DI. You can also capture your own guitars. So for example, I have captured the sound of my Strat pickup and then applied that to, say, this guitar, which sounds a bit more, gives it a bit more spank, a bit more single coil kind of sound to it. Also, if you're using passive pickups, you can enable the active circuit here and adjust the gain. That will actually go to the point of clipping if you want to, in the same way that some active pickups will clip on the way in. You've got a noise gate over here, you've got a metronome, there's a menu here with your sets, so you can set up for live, and you can choose different presets which will be controlled by a MIDI controller. You've got your presets up here, so these are the ones that I've made, and obviously there's factory presets. Once you actually get this, there'll be more community presets. I don't have access to those yet because they're still being made. You can switch between 2 different tones. This is your live setup, MIDI controls, and then you've got to set up your input mode. You can choose between mono or stereo. So you've got the noise gate, you've also got a tuner, and you've got your general audio settings over there. As with a lot of the other Toneforge plugins, you've also got the ability to calibrate your input, so you can adjust the gain going into the amp sim. I actually use this to calibrate the input on my interface. So I'll use this and I'll keep adjusting my interface until this comes up as 0. You've also got down here option for selecting what tuning you'll have your guitar in. So for example, I'm in A1, which is drop A 7-string tuning as per usual, on the Schecter Jeff Loomis signature, which is the one I always use for demoing amp sims. You've got the option here to choose between 6-string, 7-string, 8-string, and you can choose what tuning you're in. And what it will do is it will adjust the way that the amp models to best serve the tuning that you're in. So I have have the correct amount of low end, etc., based on that tuning. Let's go through these segments one at a time. On the pedals section, we have an overdrive. We also have the options for a chorus, delay, lo-fi, and reverb. I personally prefer those four to go after the amp rather than before it, so that's where I'll show you those and hear what they sound like. On the overdrive, we've got a bass, treble, drive, and a level. This is what the Amp Sim sounds like without the overdrive on. This is what it sounds like with it on. I've just put that on there mainly just for tightening up the low end more than anything else. On the amps themselves, we've got 3 different amps to choose from. You've got Marta, which is a clean amp. That has a built-in compressor. Which is really nice. You can adjust the gain on here, so this is 50%. Do a little bit of drive on there if you bring the gain up. You've also got burn, which adds a little bit more gain to it and changes the structure of it generally, which just kind of takes you into a little bit of breakup, kind of rock crunch kind of tone. You got bright on here. And then of course you've got the EQ controls as well, bass, middle, treble, presence, and then volume. The next amp is Replica, which is based on a JCM 800 that belongs to Dino. It's been modded, and the main thing that you'll notice on here which differentiates it from a lot of other JCM 800 models is that it's got a hunt, kill, and devour. Rather than having one gain, it's got 3 gains. So you've got this one here is the overall gain, kill is the high frequency gain, and hunt is the low frequency gain. So like for example, if I turn this one down and this one up, and then change it the other way around, you can hear that it adjusts it in different ways. So like if you go with a lot of this and bring this down, this will give you a lot tighter low end. Kind of a bit more, so should we say djenty. Then you've got your EQ, you've got presence as well. You've also got the option to change between solid state and valve, which will then affect the power amp. And that is particularly noticeable when you bring up the volume of the channel. So you can bring this up and it will drive the power stage. And what's cool is you can then go to auto gain, and what it does, keeps the volume the same even if you turn this up. So that is then, rather than increasing the sound level, is actually driving the power stage. You hear it adding more saturation as it goes up. So that's really cool. Then you've also got the Proto Mech, which is a neural capture of 5 of Dino's different tones. So the one we've got here at the moment is the Monolith. Then you've got Dielectric, Aggression, Mechanized, and Damaged. Damaged does kind of sound damaged. It's kind of like got almost lo-fi, broken kind of saturation to it, which is really cool. I really like that. So I'm just going to go back to my preset, which is the girthy rhythm. I'm going to turn the DI match back off again. So this one is actually set up on the Proto Mech. Sounds like this. Quite bright because I quite like bright tones. What we'll do is we'll go over to a clean preset such as Peasant. And you can see this one here is using an embedded profile, and if we capture the source of, this is what it sounds like with the DI match turned off, and if I capture my guitar, this is what it sounds like with the DI match on. So that is the neck pickup of my Strat, and that's what this is then attempting to sound like with the DI match technology. So we go over to the effects now. I'll turn all of these off and change over to the neck pickup. It sounds like this with no effects on. And with the chorus, with the delay, you got a few different modes on here. So this is a lo-fi one at the moment, analog, digital, ping pong. So you got that stereo sound going on that one. I'm going to switch back to lo-fi, which is what I was using before. Then we've got reverb. You've also got a nice little bit of EQ on here, so that appears to be a high pass. And then you've got a high here as well, so and that's only affecting the reverb, not the guitar signal itself, of course. Then you've got pre-delay on here as well, so that's pretty cool. Then, of course, we've also got the lo-fi as well. So I'm just going to go back to the reset to the preset. If we then put lo-fi on, you can also put a bit of drive on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change over to the girthy rhythm again. So that sounds like this. Now if you want to have like a little bridge part where it sounds kind of lo-fi, does the job, makes it lo-fi. It's very, very good. Then we've got the EQ, so you can see here that I've put quite a bit of EQ on this particular plugin. Just, you know, that's just how I wanted it to sound. And if we take, say, for example, this shelf, we could make it dynamic. So you can see it there reacting to the playing. We can just very easily just click anywhere, just add one in. You can use the scroll wheel to change the cue. You can change it to mid and side as well. That's kind of wild. So you just do the sides or just the mid. Left and right. So we're going to do it on stereo. You can change between a high pass, a low shelf, a peak, a high shelf, or a low pass. And turn it off again. And you can drag these around very easily. It's just like a standard EQ, but it's really good to be able to have that built right into the plugin rather than having to change several plugins one after the other. Especially if you're using it in standalone like I am right now, because you simply wouldn't be able to put like FabFilter after a standalone plugin like this. You'd have to go through your DAW. And then you've got the analog, which is very simple. You've got your input going in, you've got a high pass filter, high shelf, and then you've got 2 frequencies here, and again the gain, quite simply. As I probably said before, I really like 5K in my guitars, so I put on this 4.8 with a bit of a boost, gives you a nice kind of ear candy bit that kind of just does the job for me. It's just that kind of adds that metallic quality to a guitar tone. Then over here we've got the autonomous dynamic system, it's called. I mean, you know, there's that kind of futuristic industrial kind of vibe, which I really like. Actually, there's a really nice aesthetic on this. It actually makes me think of an old game from the 90s I really, really loved and spent hours and hours and hours playing, Djent 2. Wow, that takes me back. There's just something about this that has that kind of industrial but 90s kind of vibe. But you know, that's Fear Factory, isn't it? So what you've got on here, you've got a low-end compressor. So you can see there that it's compressing on the low end, kind of controlling the chugs a bit. So if we turn that off, compared with the on, got a little bit of extra control in there. Excuse my poor technique. Not feeling it today. And then limiter just allows you to control the overall level coming out of the plugin. All right, so that's those buttons there. The last thing which we haven't played with yet is the mode over here. So I'm just gonna go through the different tunings on there and show you what it is. It's quite subtle what it does, but I'll just show you what it does. So this is the A, drop A. If I put it to E standard, and then put it to drop E, eight string drop E, and then back up to E standard. If you're listening to this on your phone speakers, you may not hear that. If you're listening on some big speakers or headphones, you'll probably notice that there's a big difference happening there in the low end, and it's quite good. It really does make a difference. And if you've got like quad guitars going on, and then you've got that going stacked up on all of those, that will be very noticeable across an entire mix. And I think that's kind of the out of the box thinking that Joey Sturgis is known for. He has a very unique mixing style and very unique approach to engineering generally. So I think that really carries across into his plugins, and I think it's really clever. What do you think of this plugin then? I think it's really cool, and having a very, very comprehensive EQ and dynamic section on here as well is fantastic, and it's all part of that kind of out of the box thinking and engineering that Joey Sturgis is known for. And all very useful tools to use as well when to have all of that in one plugin to make it very easy to control and get the exact sound you want. There's a nice variety of tones in here as well. You've got the kind of British Marshall-y kind of sound going on the replica. On the Protomech, you've got some more classically American kind of sounds going on. And the clean is very useful as well. I don't tend to use clean tones very much, hence why my clean tone preset is called Peasant, because clean tones are for peasants. But I think that's very useful. Having the compression on there is very nice as well, because if you're doing a clean tone, a lot of compression going into it is very, very nice. Just kind of evens out all the dynamics and makes it sound much more pleasant as well. The pedals, I think the effects are really great as well. And yeah, overall, I really enjoy it, and I definitely recommend it. And what I would mention as well is that we've got a code in the description for a limited time discount, so a kind of introductory offer, so check that out. And while you're down there, why not give us a comment, tell us what you thought of it, give us a subscribe and like, check out our affiliate links, because those all help our channel as well, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye.